It's maybe counterintuitive from a guy that owns a gym, but it's better to invest money first in your sleep hygiene and sleep protocols, and then invest money in your movement. What is your work close down time? I believe that this should be somewhere around 3 hours before bed, and it's a complete shutdown from work. We need to let the brain relax. You need to walk into your bedroom, and it's like walking into a place where you feel completely relaxed. You need to feel like it's a sacred place, because that's what it is. What you're going to do in that room for the next 8 or 9 hours is going to fuel your body for the days to come. How are you bringing your body, your mind, your nervous system into the parasympathetic, the rest and digest, relaxation? If we're going to sleep well, we need to be in a relaxed state. We need to be going slow. We can't have the brain ping-ponging around left, right, and center. So what can we do? Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the InnerFight Podcast. How much do you sleep, and what actually is the importance of sleep, and what can you do to make it better? A lot of people use various wearables to track their sleep, and sometimes the information that we're getting from them is not exactly motivating, but we're not doing a lot about it. And therefore, our sleep efficiency and our performance in life, in all areas of life, could be dampened slightly. So today, I put together a show that hopefully gives you some ideas about how you can improve your sleep efficiency when you need to start thinking about your sleep efficiency, and maybe some of the positive outcomes that you will have from having more sleep. And at the same time, maybe this could be a warning to some people of the potential danger that you're exposing yourself to by sacrificing on sleep. I go into all different things: room temperature, actually when we should start to wind down from our day, and that could be whilst we're still at work, all the way through when we should be putting tech away, what things we should be listening to maybe before we go to bed, or what we shouldn't be doing. There are a number of different ideas. Some of them will resonate with some of you and others with others. Some of you will be able to implement some of this into your daily life immediately, while some of you might need some time. However, I believe that one of the lowest laying fruits to improve performance, vitality, satisfaction, and happiness in life is actually paying attention to our sleep. But it's not something that we're really taking that seriously, if we're honest, aside from reading a book or looking at a Whoop score and doing absolutely nothing about it. Hopefully, after today's show, you will do something about your sleep. This is episode number 952 of the InnerFight Podcast. No matter where you are in the world, thanks a lot for tuning in. Let's jump into today's show. My biggest objective in this show is that you do not fall asleep. Sorry, I should really work on my humor. I've actually been watching a lot of comedy recently, so I probably think I'm a lot funnier than I am. However, welcome to the show, and welcome to sleep. If you're on our mailing list, on Monday the 18th, we sent out a weekly email, and it's actually over on innerfight.com as well, so you can go and check it out there. But I'm just going to read it out, because I think some of the points in it are quite important and very relevant for what we are going to talk about today. A blood alcohol concentration of 0.08 for general drivers and 0.04% for commercial drivers is the legal limit in the USA. Meanwhile, here in Dubai, the approach is rightly zero tolerance. The reason for this is that factors such as reaction times, ability to focus, judgment, decision-making, and situational awareness are all impacted by alcohol. This may be common knowledge to many of you. Sleep deprivation can impair the brain in very similar ways. Being awake for around 18 hours can have a similar effect to a blood alcohol concentration level of 0.05. And being awake for 24 hours takes that to 0.10. The compounded impact of multiple nights of little or poor sleep also delivers similar results. The fines for sleep deprivation are non-existent. Perhaps the reason why many of us partake in it. The impact of it, however, on those around us, our jobs, and ultimately our health is equally as serious as that of drink driving. If you listened to my show last week and are thinking, how is this guy now talking about the negative impacts of sleep deprivation? And last week he was doing a show all about how he was awake for 43 hours. What a hypocrite, what a prick. I shouldn't listen to this guy. I appreciate you. And maybe you shouldn't. They're two very different situations. What I'm going to speak about today is hopefully going to help people to perform better in life. What I was talking about last week was, I guess you could say, quite a serious physical challenge, which I took on with Phil and with Ollie. It's not something I do on a regular basis. It's not something I do weekly. Some of you might argue that I do them on a regular basis, but only a few times a year. And in those situations, we take a lot of different precautions. So park that one for a minute. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the adventure, and I hope you took something out of it. And let's get into what is really it really is a serious problem that we're facing. We're now sleeping a lot less than we were sleeping before. And that's not just adults. That's across all age categories. If you have children, you might think sometimes about how long their school days are, how sometimes their sport could start very early and finish well into the evening, or extracurricular activities could be at various times of the day outside of the school day, which if you compare that to when we were at school or when you were at school, that really didn't happen. How many hours do you remember sleeping as a teenager? Me personally, I remember being quite a bad teenager and sleeping till 11, 12 o'clock, still from 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening. That urge to sleep 12, 14, sometimes even 16 hours. But it's not so commonplace in the world right now. And it is having a number of negative impacts. Needless to say, the example I used there for drink driving, it's very similar sleep deprivation to that of consuming alcohol when it comes to our awareness, our reaction times, and generally knowing what's going on. So what can we do about it? Well, what we've seen in recent times is awareness around sleep, which is actually super good. But I think we've gone a little bit deep and we're not actually solving the problem. We're just highlighting the problem. We have various wearables that tell us how much we sleep or how much we don't sleep. They tell us the quality of our sleep, which again, often is not super high. So the narrative from a lot of wearables is quite negative. And therefore, if our input is constantly negative, then our output is often quite negative as well. We're told, like I've said, that we don't sleep enough. We're told that our sleep quality is not good enough. And if you wake up each morning or you check in each day with your wearable app and you see the data is negative, the whole thing becomes quite negative. I believe that we should build a more positive relationship with sleep. We should see it as something that fuels us. It is for me, and I hope for you as well, a pathway to happiness. We know that we're happier when we've slept more. We know that we have more energy, that our relationships are better, that we can do the things that we want to do. Why should sleep be holding us back from what we want to do in this world? When it's something that, if we get it right, it's actually a low-cost intervention. It just costs us our time and our planning. But the world has changed. As I said, schools demand more. Extracurricular activities lengthen the school day. And it happens all over, not just in school. Our work days now often don't have start and finish points. They do officially, but most people are checking emails whilst they're having their morning you-know-what. So what really is going on? A lot of not such good things. So let's right the wrongs. Let's try and figure out how we can do things better. And I hope that from this show, you can take 2 or 3 things that will help you that you can start to implement and will help you to see the value of better sleep. We'll start, as you know, when I'm doing a show on my own, I've got points. 1, and it goes on. There's not 20 or 21 like there was last week, but we start with this point, number 1. What is our work close down time. A lot of our sleep issues for people that are pursuing a professional life, a career, could actually be related to work. And because the boundaries of work are somehow quite different to what they used to be, this can have the potential to have a huge impact on our sleep. I remember in the early part of my career, we had a desktop computer and we'd power it down, normally about 4:45, and leave the office at 5. Yes, people had your mobile number, but they didn't really ring it and they didn't expect you to pick it up if they did ring it. So there was a clear time of the day where work stopped. Could have been 5 o'clock, could have been 6 o'clock. And yes, for sure, there were some days still where there was a requirement to work late, but that would be always office-based. I would never take work home with me. And if I did, it was probably some A4 paper and a pen, and I'd try and attack it after dinner, and I'd have the awareness to realize that that was not when I was the most productive. Career pressure, corporate pressure, and self-pressure as well have flipped that whole script. Mix it in with technology and actually the ability that we can be contacted anytime and we can have and do pretty much anything on the device that you're probably listening on right now. And we've got a little bit of a melting pot of disaster. So what is your rules? If we have rules, then we're normally going to we need discipline to follow them for sure. But if we have some rules of the game, then we can play a game. So what is your work close down time? I believe that this should be somewhere around 3 hours before bed. And it's a complete shutdown from work. Why is that important? We need to let the brain relax. We can't go from 100 to 0. You know this very well. And when the brain is racing, thinking about things, processing things, stressing in different ways, even being excited for business that might come in or parts of your job that you're really excited about, it's very hard to close it down the next minute. You can't just shut the laptop as you're sat in bed, roll over, put your head on the pillow, and the next minute be asleep. Some people might say they can, but you can't. You'll wake up a few hours later. So we need to have a rule of when we're going to close down our work day. It doesn't just start as when we're going to bed. This starts way before. Is it when you come in from your work? Do all devices go off? How do we separate work from pleasure? Are we using the same devices? This is something that in the modern era with technology is very, very hard. Something like WhatsApp can be quite invading for a number of people, but it's also an essential social tool. It's a tool to keep in touch with our family. However, if we're looking for family messages and work messages are coming in at the same time, which could be quite right, working across different time zones or people locally who have no respect and no rules, then we're going to get certain stimulation in our brainwaves. And this is not preparing us in the best way to go to sleep. A small hack that I used, and I think I've spoken about it on the show before, is I have 2 different WhatsApps. You have the normal WhatsApp and a business WhatsApp. And the normal WhatsApp that my family have, that will give me a notification. It's one of only a few things on my phone that give me a notification. So if there is any emergency or I want to speak to my family, I can do that through that WhatsApp. And WhatsApp for Business has no notifications, no red bubbles, doesn't disturb me at all. So I'm very happy after a certain time of day or at a certain time in day not to open that anymore. But it doesn't mean that my family can't keep in touch with me. You could have the same thing for a wider group of friends, or I would suggest a very close group of friends. There has to be a rule as well, is on that there would be no more work, and you have to be at peace with that. So if 6 o'clock is the time you finish work, and some people are probably sat listening going, geez, I wish I finished at 6. And we've got to run a scenario. I've got to have some kind of numbers in place here. You get home by 7. Once you walk through the front door, there's no more work going on in your life. That's the way it should be. That's the way that's going to help you to sleep better. Some people might say, my job is too demanding. I can't actually do that. they expect more of me. I'll counter that in a way that would say that they won't actually get more of you. They'll get a little bit more of you, but when your batteries are depleted, your phone just keeps shutting off. And it's exactly the same with your human batteries. So the work that you do when you're fatigued and when you have compounded or cumulative fatigue is of an extremely low standard. And therefore, you're not actually moving the needle in your professional life. You're just burying yourself and causing more and more issues. So you get home, 7 o'clock, and everything goes off. No more work-related stimulation for the brain. That is point number one. If you're checking emails, sending emails, doing WhatsApps immediately before you go to sleep or even in bed, and the same when you wake up, you're probably not going to be sleeping too well. So I believe that that's one of the first things that has to start to change. When you start to try and implement the change, it will feel incredibly foreign because your brain has been used to this stimulation all the way up to when you go to sleep or when you try to go to sleep, and also when you wake up the next morning. You've trained it to get stimulated all the time and in various ways. Just by checking email the whole time, by having notifications on, by waking up and then going directly to something. Over a number of years, you've trained yourself to, and your mind to want that to happen. Therefore, it's almost like an addiction. And coming off any addiction, you're going to have certain withdrawal symptoms. You're not going to feel quite right. Your brain might not be stimulating so much dopamine. It also might not be stimulating quite a lot of cortisol because you won't be quite stressed out. And that will feel quite foreign to you at first. That's okay. Maybe we can start to replace it with some other things. And that's point number 2 that I've got for you today. What are your activities that you're doing that actually help you to wind down? How are you bringing your body, your mind, your nervous system into the parasympathetic, the rest and digest, relaxation? How are you slowing things down? Remember what I said. If we're going to sleep well, we need to be in a relaxed state. We need to be going slow. We can't have the brain ping-ponging around left, right, and center. So what can we do once we've come home and we've put the phone and not even brought a laptop home perhaps, or if we have the discipline not to open it past a certain time? Some of you might need to, don't get me wrong. You might need to do 30 minutes, an hour of work, but you have to have the cutoff time. And then we can move into certain activities. Number one activity, and we saw this or heard about this a lot during COVID times, is actually changing out of our work uniform, no matter what that is, and into our leisure suit, basically. What do you feel more relaxed in? Because what we're trying to do here is we're trying to end the work day. I wear shorts and t-shirt every day, but some days I just want to get home, and no surprise to a lot of you, especially those that know me a bit more, I'll just take my cap off and I'll also take my shirt off. And that's me relaxing. When I see the brand, I'm seeing my work. I'm subconsciously seeing my work. If I still got my cap on, I'm still seeing my work. So I need to take it off. I need to change my clothes. If you're wearing a suit, sorry about that, you're probably even more going to need to change your clothes. And what you have to consciously think you're doing and have some awareness around that is you're moving from work time to leisure time. It's a really big move. It might feel quite small to some people, but it's something that's super important. So as soon as you get home or have a time that you're going to change from work mode into relaxing mode and change your clothes as well. Other things that you can do is actually calming the body down by going through, and this might sound a bit woo-woo to some people, but a stretch session, a yoga session. Most of my days I'll end at home with 20 minutes, 30 minutes of yoga and stretching on my yoga mat. So come in, shirt off, hat off, onto the yoga mat. Obviously you have to say hi to Holly because she's normally there. And sometimes it's actually quite interesting because sometimes she wants to talk more and I need to do yoga more and I have to balance the two. So there is a little bit of balance. And especially the case if you have children as well. So there'll be certain things that you have to fit around this, and maybe it's not a perfect world, but these are some ideas that might work. 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Sometimes it's not yoga like people might know it. Maybe it's just breathing. With breathing, we relax the body, we relax the mind, and we calm everything down. And that's super, super important. It's marking the end of the day. Breathing exercises they became super fashionable when the book Breath was released and when a lot of people were selling different programs related to breathing. People know about box breathing, all sorts of different breathing techniques and protocols and gurus out there. That ship seems to have sailed a little bit now, but the ship started its journey way, 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 way back. And a lot of the origins of yoga and the initial stages of yoga are actually breathing. So if yoga is a little bit far-fetched for you, just something like basic breathing exercises. They can be done as well, not only when you get home, but they can be done later in the evening as well. It's something that I'll use sometimes when I want to nap fast in an ultra, is just to control my breath, to connect with my breath, count the breaths, and just feel the body relaxing. Almost use the same tone that all these guys, nice and slowly. So that could be a couple of different things that you do when you come in. The next point is our meal times. And this really might not be resonating with a lot of people because a lot of people are rushed from the office. They get home 9 o'clock. They find an app. They've ordered Deliveroo. It comes. They don't know what they ate. They don't know how it tastes. They don't know how much. They're still hungry. It's a disaster. But if you can make the time, which you can, why not cook your own food? Why not have a set dinner time? If you're coming in at 6 o'clock, maybe it takes you 45 minutes, an hour. Maybe it takes you a little bit longer to wind down, to be ready. Or maybe you just have a 30-minute window where you're winding down, changing your clothes, just getting rid of the day, debriefing the day with a loved one, and then you're into cooking some dinner. The process of cooking your own dinner is actually super helpful because it takes the focus away from a lot of things that have been on your mind during the day. It allows the brain to calm down a little bit and is actually a super rewarding process. It's one of the reasons why we're not enjoying food a lot these days because we don't actually have to work for it. We just hit an app and basically just carry on watching something, working whilst eating noodles off our keyboard. And to be honest, it's a horrible mess. And you might giggle or a little bit sigh when you think of that, but that's kind of where a lot of us have got to. So is your dinner time consistent? If we were doing a food podcast, we'd be talking about the importance of eating at certain times of day and having consistent times of day that we eat, day after day after day. When you've cooked your dinner, what does eating it look like? Are we sitting down at a table, having conversation with people? Are devices switched off, out of sight, not disturbing us? Is there some background music on that could be soothing? It doesn't have to be opera or something really or the bagpipes or piano music. It could just be music that is in the background, just creating a nice, soothing atmosphere. Talking about the soothing atmosphere and creating an environment that's good for sleep what is that environment like when you get home? Is it super hectic? Are there TVs on? Is it very loud? Some of you might not really be able to avoid that if you have children on various ages, but they also need to go through the process of calming down. So if you're getting home at 7 p.m. and your 8-year-old is running around screaming, the chance of them sleeping sleeping well is probably highly reduced, and so is yours. So what is that environment around dinner time? What is it like? I'll come on to lighting in a minute. What's the conversation like over dinner? Is there a structure to it? Are you scrolling during dinner? I just spoke quickly there about no devices. Are you enjoying your food? Do you actually know what you're eating? Or are you just eating because food is fuel? Dinner time presents a unique opportunity to start to prepare the wind down as well. It also is an opportunity to connect with people, to debrief, to be grateful for what happened that day, to reflect on the day, and also to get excited about what's happening tomorrow. It's something that has been very commonplace in my family since I was young, and for that I'm super grateful to my parents. We would always sit at the dinner table. There was no distractions. There was no newspapers, no magazines. We would talk. How was your day? What happened? What did you think about it? And then we would probably move from that, when that conversation dried up, we'd move into what's happening tomorrow. And what are you excited about for tomorrow, which is a technique I still use in my coaching now. When I get my clients to ask themselves, what are they looking forward to the next day? These things are great things to talk about over dinner. A lot of people think, and this is also training in the bad way, that if I didn't watch YouTube during dinner, or if I didn't have my phone during dinner, or I need to just finish things during dinner, well, what am I going to speak about? There's plenty of stuff to talk about. Cook your own food, spend some time cooking it, sit down. If you live on your own, still sit down at the table and have your dinner in peace with no distractions and no super loud music. Rave music, techno music, if we want to prepare to sleep in a few hours, is not the best. Talking about when we should eat, there's various research, and a lot of people believe that they can eat and then go to bed. As a guide, we should be trying to finish our dinner somewhere around 90 minutes, and as a minimum 60 minutes up to 2 hours before we go to bed. It's important that our food is digested, or at least started the digestive process. To speed that up slightly, a nice walk around your neighborhood after dinner could be something that maybe you want to look into as well. There are a number of different benefits to it. Maybe just making up your step count for the day, maybe continuing a conversation with a loved one, but also to promote the digestion of your food is super important. Think about the other tasks as well. What are you doing in the window between the end of the day and bedtime, and what impact does it have? Are you doing tasks that rile you up? You might be very good at shutting off from work, but then you move into, maybe you follow stock markets, maybe you follow Bitcoin. At the moment, it's all going crazy because of what's happening in the world. Maybe you read the news, maybe you watch the news. Start to create some awareness about what that does to you. How does it feel? Does it make your brain go faster, or does it make your brain relax? Do you ever wake up thinking about the stock markets? Why do you wake up thinking about the stock markets or the state of the world right now? There are many things that you could worry about. And the chances of you worrying about those things is probably massively enhanced if you have spent some time in the evening, maybe even during the day, but if you've spent some time close to bed looking at those kind of things. So again, think about what your activities are after dinner. What do you do in that 60, 90, 2 hours from when you've had your dinner to when you go to bed? Does it make you go faster, or does it make you more relaxed? Lighting. I think this is point 4, maybe 5. What is the lighting? What's the importance of light? What does light do to us? This is something that's really important to understand. Our bodies react to light with a hormone called melatonin. The more light we have, the harder it is for that melatonin to be secreted. And we need that. We need that to go into a relaxed state to be able to sleep. It's hard, but where possible, reduce your lighting. Install dimmer switches. Keep blue light to an absolute minimum. 10 years ago, or a little bit longer, were launched blue light blocking glasses, which were rumored and proven in some cases to block the light that comes off devices and certain blue light emitting lights. People wore them to block the light. And we're almost tricking our eyes because that's where the decision is made whether we're going to secrete melatonin or not. Why not still wear them? Watching TV, watching a show that actually calms you down and doesn't speed you up is fantastic. But if the result of watching that TV is that we have an overstimulation in the brain and we don't have melatonin, then we're going to struggle to sleep. Dimmer switches, maybe candles, are something that could be a super good addition to your home and to your nighttime routine. Softer lighting rather than harsh lighting is super important. And as I said, less screen time, even if it's social screen time, less screen time in the 60 to 90 minutes before bed is normally going to have a huge positive result. This is where things like readers like a Kindle or version 1 of the Remarkable, version 2 actually has color and it has a backlight in it, are proven to actually allow us to continue to relax rather than the blue light firing us up. So just think about what lights we have, what lights we're exposed to, how bright they are, and how much that could be impacting our inability to have good quality sleep, which is what obviously we're trying to do. We're trying to fall asleep as fast as possible. We'll do that by being in a relaxed state. And we're trying to stay asleep for as long as possible so we have good quality sleep. And we'll only do that if the brain is nice and relaxed. Where do we move to now? We move to the bedroom. And I think out of all of these points, this guy is probably one of the biggest. There are so many different things that are going on that shouldn't be going on, or factors to think about when it comes to your bedroom. The biggest test or the biggest check-in on your bedroom that I'd normally do with people is ask them the question, how do you feel when you walk into your bedroom? Is it relaxing? Or does it make you feel stressed? What's your immediate reaction? Do you like your bedroom? Does it make you feel like a place to relax? That's something that's super important. If you don't like your bedroom, you need to start making changes to it. A new bed, different curtains, a new bedside, a new chest of drawers, or getting rid of an old one. All these things that seem quite small, but also I appreciate could be quite expensive at times, are going to impact the quality of your sleep. You need to walk into your bedroom and it's like walking into a place where you feel completely relaxed. You need to feel like it's a sacred place because that's what it is. What you're going to do in that room for the next 8 or 9 hours is going to fuel your body for the days to come. You're not going to have good quality sleep if it's not a place that you feel that you can relax. So there are certain things that we should go through as checkpoints to see what's going on in your bedroom. Does it have a cluttered feeling to it? Is it disorganized? Is there laundry all over the floor? Is there things all over the place? With cyclists, I saw it a lot in COVID that, and this is simply because of the rooms that they had, but we'd have turbo trainers in bedrooms. And then those turbo trainers would become laundry racks in bedrooms. And the whole thing has a lot of clutter. Your brain sees the turbo, it is immediately stimulated because that's what it needs to be when you get on the thing in the morning. It doesn't really know sometimes, if you've confused it with light, that it's actually nighttime. It sees the turbo, it's stimulated, or you're just falling over the thing. Clutter is the biggest thing. And it's probably one of the things that as kids we're hammered for the most by our parents, keeping our rooms tidy. But then when we become a little bit older or we become parents ourselves, somehow we just let it all go. Have a look at your room. Is there a lot of clutter? And can you put some stuff away? By putting stuff away, I don't mean stuffing it in drawers, because that's just moving the bad energy from one place to another. What we want is we want things to be in the right place and to be done in a tidy way. The bedroom is sacred. You can have your house trashed, you can have stuff all over the place, but in the bedroom, we want it to be as clutter-free as possible if we're going to sleep efficiently and enjoyably. We then look at temperature. Temperature is something that's super important in the bedroom. Too hot, you're not sleeping very well. Too cold, you're not sleeping very well either. So a lot of people will say that they need it a certain temperature. If you've genuinely done research and your room's clutter-free, you're closing your work day down, you're having a good time, and you're in a completely relaxed state when you're going into bed, and you know that the temperature needs to be 22, and that's where you sleep the most efficiently, keep going. It's fantastic. What I found is that a cooler temperature, this is probably because my school dormitories were absolutely freezing, but I like to sleep at around 17 to 18 degrees. So I'll have it nice and cool. If you read Tim Ferriss's book, he was probably the first one to speak out about that. There's probably quite a bit of research that says around that window of 18 to 20 degrees is the temperature that we should try and have our rooms at. For some people, that's going to be possible. For some people, it's not going to be possible. But there's also checkpoints as well. If you're consistently waking up in the night hot, your bedroom's probably too hot. If you're consistently waking up in the night cold, and that's interrupting your sleep, your bedroom's probably too cold. It sounds really basic now, but some people that would really resonate. And they can't quite connect the dots, which is absolutely fine. That's why we're here. Just think about the temperature that you have your bedroom at. We then come back to another point of your bedroom environment, which is the lights. Are we leaving lights on at night? Are there lights coming through windows? Is the bathroom light leaking somewhere around the door and actually stimulating the eyes? I'm really bad for this. I can only sleep in pitch black. If there's like a tiny bit of light coming from somewhere, I'm having a nightmare. Literally. When I travel in hotels, I take insulation tape with me because there's always really weird lights, and I tape up all the lights so that the room is completely black. Things like blackout curtains are well worth investing in, and there are some more affordable solutions out there as well than what blackout curtains used to be, because people have seen the need for it, and of course there's a commercial side to that as well. But we really need to have things as dark as possible. Could be things like street lights as well that are peering in. What is your curtain seal like? It's worth taking the time to make sure there is no light coming in, because that is also going to affect your sleep. We then come to noises, and on lights as well. Some people might need to sleep with an eye shade on. I don't believe that it's a great thing to have ongoing. Some people can, especially if they have a different approach or attitude towards light than their partner, or there's certain things that they feel that they can't avoid. People would, if you can't make your room naturally dark, then please feel free to wear an eye shade. But I think on an ongoing basis, these things actually wake you up probably a little bit more. Similar to when it comes to the next point, which is noises. If you're in a noisy area, if you can, stop the noise. If you can't, move to an area. If you can, move to an area that is a lot quieter. And then we have things like earplugs, which again, I don't think they're not really a long-term solution, because they change a lot of the way that you breathe by blocking where your ears, and as we know, ears, nose and throat is all connected. So we have to be a little bit careful there. But wearing earplugs to get to sleep, and then once you are asleep or once the noise has calmed down, if you can't actually change where you live and you can't stop the noise, then you might want to wear those earplugs for the first few hours until the time's gone, and then you just wake up quickly. They probably come out anyway. But again, I don't think it's a really solid long-term solution, but it could be a short-term solution for you. The real solution is just ensuring there is no noise. And that could be anything from your partner snoring, your partner watching TikTok videos in bed. One thing I haven't really said so far is, if you do have a partner and a family, we need to make sure everyone's on board. And all we're trying to do here is sleep better for better life, better performance, and just better health as well, that's really the goal. We'll perform better in all areas of life with better sleep. I spoke briefly earlier about devices, and this should be really a non-negotiable for people. I know some people still have phones that are lighting up in their bedroom, and they feel that they need to be contacted at night, and they have, legitimately a loved one who may need to contact them, or an older mother who lives alone. And, there are a number of different things going on. I would always question the absolute importance of that. It's an interesting one. Even when my mother was quite sick, I still never had a phone in the bedroom, because if they woke me up at 3 a.m. that she was having something quite major going on or had had a bad turn, I actually wouldn't be able to do anything about it anyway. So why disturb my sleep for it? I'll just get to it when I get to my phone in the morning. And some people might think that's a bit of a dick move, but to be honest, that's the way I see it. If I'm going to perform well for my family, I need to make sure that I have good sleep, therefore good energy and good health. And having a phone in the room lighting up when mum can't sleep tonight was not super helpful for me. You're all adults, you can make your own decisions, but I don't think anyone believes that it's a good idea to have a phone in the room. They just can't figure out how to not have that phone in the bedroom. So if you do have to have the phone in the bedroom, which I can't see why you do, but if you do have to have the phone in the bedroom, then it needs to be face down, or the light that's coming off it, because you've got notifications, they all need to be turned off, etc., etc. It needs to be non-distracting to you in every single way. An old phone that isn't connected to a network or doesn't have a SIM card as an alarm clock, I can kind of roll with that. Just. No phones in bedrooms, not even for charging, not for nothing. Please get rid of them. And the final point on your bedroom environment, I touched on it a little bit at the top, but what's your bed actually like? Is it comfortable? Are you excited to get in it? Are the sheets comfortable? Are they soft on your skin? Do you feel good being there? That's something that's super important. And to be honest, I learned this from Holly, my wife. She, rightly pointed out a number of years ago that we spend a number of hours of our life, a third or more of our life, in bed. So we're going to invest in good beds and good bed linen. And this is something that we've always done. She's super anal about bed change day, never misses it, and constantly makes sure that we have the softest linen, so that when we're getting, and this has got a little bit punchy at times because we've bought a bed that we like and then it actually doesn't really work for us, and then we've got rid of it, and you know the story. It's not always, it's a little bit of trial and error, but I think it's an investment that's well worth making, because you spend so much time in bed and because your sleep has such a huge impact on your performance. And it goes down to small things like how often you're actually washing your bed sheets, and how maybe they smell as well. What detergent you're using. Is that a detergent that's relaxing or not relaxing? Generally, you'll be using a detergent that you like the smell of because it's on your clothes. But if you're getting into bed and your bedclothes are smelling in a certain way that you're not okay with, then your sleep will also be massively impacted. So yes, it can be a little bit expensive to clear up your bedroom environment, but if we're going to spend that much time there, and we understand that sleep is such a big part of performance and of health, then it's maybe counterintuitive from a guy that owns a gym, but it's better to invest money first in your sleep hygiene and sleep protocols, and then invest money in your movement. Movement, gym membership comes after sleep. It is very hard to train efficiently if you don't have good sleep. There you go. It's sometimes, and it can be a little bit expensive to clean up your room and to get cotton on your sheets that is actually super endearing to get into and like your favorite hotel in the world. And that's actually not a bad way to figure it out. If you've ever slept in a hotel and you've really liked the bed linen, just ask them where they get it from and then figure out how many limbs you have to sell to get similar bed linen. But it's an investment that's really worth making. To sum things up, your sleep protocol starts pretty much as you're coming home or before you get home from work, to make sure you get home on time. It's important what you do in the time between getting home to actually going to bed. Everything from activities, slowing down, what you're doing around mealtime, what you're doing to digest your food, what you're doing around your devices and around your work within that time as well. Light all the way through is a massive factor. And then the biggest factors of all is what's going on in your bedroom. Your bedroom has to have an energy that is calming and that wants you to get into the bed, or you want to feel that you get into the bed in a relaxed and calm state. Good sleep, efficient sleep, falling asleep and staying asleep is all about being in a super calm state. So we have to focus on all of the tasks or all of the interventions that I've spoken about that will get us into a calm state, and then we will enjoy great sleep. Hopefully that's useful. If you do have any comments, questions, challenges, or stuff that you want to share, please reach out to me, winning@innerfight.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care.